What's going on YouTube? GeoSnorate here. So in today's video we're talking about a very important bug that has been released and that supports the latest version available of iOS on all compatible devices including A12 and A13, which will definitely be useful for a jailbreak in the near future. So Siguza posted, quote, new blog post cock00 an XNU/IOKit info leak killed in iOS 13.3.1 beta 2, and he posted a link to a blog post in here which was posted back on January 18. Now in this post he talks about a very weird bug that shouldn't even be there in the first place. Apparently the bug isn't exactly new. Many people knew about the bug and many people found the bug independently, but this is actually a pretty major one that, as I said, shouldn't have been part of the iOS. However, although not TFP0, this bug provides something important: access to a Mac port. This means that this bug in here is a kernel info leak. And kernel info leaks are actually very important if you're trying to build a jailbreak, because you can chain them with other exploits and it actually helps you a lot, because you see the kernel itself is this very opaque box that you cannot see inside. You run in userland and the kernel itself runs more privileged and it has all the privileges it wants, and of course the kernel has control over you as userland and as the mobile user, but you have no control over the kernel whatsoever. When we're trying to create a jailbreak, we need to somehow gain arbitrary access privileges to that kernel and make it do what we want. For example, give us access to a file or give us access to a part of memory to change something. Or of course we want to give ourselves permission over the system to modify anything we want, or to remount, or to install Cydia in a place that we need to install it, or the dependencies for Cydia, or to run the mobile substrate in order to be able to run tweaks. Now all of that has to be approved by the kernel, because normally you as a user have no special privileges. You shouldn't be able to run any binaries, you shouldn't be able to run anything but the applications you install from the App Store, you shouldn't be able to write to any path other than your applications folders, and of course you shouldn't be able to arbitrarily launch or terminate processes, let alone to inject anything into them like tweaks. So everything is tightly controlled and you have no access to that world that is called the kernel. You don't even have access to that memory to read it. You cannot find addresses of various functions in the kernel. So how do jailbreakers actually create a jailbreak? It turns out that these exploits, for example this one in here, provide access to that memory, which is normally opaque and inaccessible. And with a bug like this, you get addresses from the kernel memory, you get ports, for example Mac ports, as is the case of this bug in here, and that allows you to write and read and obtain TFP0, which at that point you have full control over the kernel, so you're able to do anything you want, including to install tweaks or to deploy your jailbreak or to install Cydia and stuff like that. So you see, you actually need something to allow you to breach the wall that is between you and the kernel, and bugs like this are actually very important because this is what they do. This bug in here actually leaks a Mac port, which is an important thing because at the end you get a kernel pointer. This is very important because you shouldn't be able to have access to kernel pointers. The exploitation is pretty simple. You just need to do what it says in here and bam, you got a kernel pointer on the latest available iOS like 13.3, even on the A12, A13 devices, which you can definitely use alongside another bug to get yourself a jailbreak, which is definitely cool. Now as I said, this is not TFP0. You can just control the kernel with this. It just gives you access to a Mac port, but that's already huge enough. You already have access to a part of the kernel memory, you are able to read it, and of course that is actually pretty impressive. There's even a working implementation of this exploit for iOS 13.3 in here, so if you open the page, it's going to go to GitHub, and of course it says in here how to build it, but if you go to the source code, you can see exactly what it does. You have the iOS header, and then of course the code that does everything that needs to be done, and at the end you get a perfectly valid kernel pointer, which is actually quite impressive, especially on iOS 13.3 and especially on A12 and A13. Now of course you're going to tell me, what can I do with a kernel pointer? Well, there are vulnerabilities that would require a kernel pointer in order to be able to exploit it properly to get more privileges, for example TFP0, and having this bug in here would give you more ways to exploit the kernel and of course to find a proper TFP0 bug, and of course at that point you're basically jailbroken. But this one is a very good start because you're no longer in your userland area where you have no access. You already got a kernel pointer, so you already crossed into kernel's memory, which is actually very good if you're planning to exploit your device to create a jailbreak. So while the exploit itself in here will not result in a jailbreak alone, it can definitely be used and it will probably be used in the future for a jailbreak. And of course, as I said, this is a available for the latest iOS version, iOS 13.3 at the moment, so it's definitely not a bug to throw away. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching. If you have any jailbreak questions or you want to talk about this, the jailbreak forum at jailbreak.fce365.info is available in the pinned comment down below. Thank you for watching. I am GeoSnow, and until the next time, peace out.